If you're a student pilot and you don't know what to study, that was me during the private stage, and it's really frustrating because there's so much information that you have to learn, but sometimes it's like I don't really know to the extent that I have to learn. I mean, we have pages and pages of content that we could read in the pilot's handbook of aeronautical knowledge, the airplane flying handbook, the FAR aim, but really it's like, what exactly do we need to be studying? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a few things that you could be studying that will be on the private pilot check ride. That way you're feeling a little bit more prepared and you're not so lost. First off, my name is Joseph. I help student pilots become private pilots. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing videos talking about these topics and teaching them. Okay, so here's a few different topics that you should be studying. The first one's going to be regulations. Now, it's not important to memorize every single regulation, but have them bookmarked in the FAR aim. Now, as far as regulations go, screenshot this because these are just a few regulations that you need to have bookmarked and just look through them. Spend, a few hours going through these regulations just to have an understanding of what they are. You don't need to memorize them word for word, but most of the stuff is really important, and things like cloud clearances or requirements to even become a private pilot, those are things that you need to memorize and will be asked on your check ride. So it's really important to have those bookmarked, because what if you get to your check ride and they ask you cloud clearances in Class D airspace? Well, I'm excited for you to take your check ride because you're going to discover what check ride brain is. Something super easy that you've been studying for weeks is just going to completely vanish out of your brain, and you're going to have to look it up. Now, if you have that bookmarked, you could just go to the FAR aim app, look up cloud clearances, and boom, you'll have your answer. But if you didn't have that bookmarked, it might take a little bit of extra time. The DP might, get a little annoyed that you're taking so long trying to find this answer. And the next one's going to be airspace. What do you have to learn for airspace? The most important things for airspace is identifying what's on the sectional chart. Generally, how 99% of check rides go is the DP is going to give you a scenario. They'll say, hey, plan a trip that you're taking with your family. There's two of you. You guys are packing this amount of bags that weigh this amount. Plan a trip from point A to point B. And you're going to create a navlog. You're going to do the weight and balance. Make sure you can take off with full fuel and all that stuff. But in your check ride, they are going to go through your flight plan, and they're going to go along the airspace from point A to point B and say, okay, tell me what this is. Tell me what's this airspace? What are the cloud clearances in there? What does this little symbol mean here? Tell me about that. And it's your job to identify what they're talking about and give them the answer. This includes the classes of airspace, special use airspace, symbology on the chart, cloud clearances. That's something I see a lot of people struggle with. A common struggle among students is that there's a ton of information, but what exactly do you need to learn? The Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge has 500 pages in it, and some of it's commercial, some of it's instrument, some of it's private. And it's very intimidating when you're looking at this thing from day one, not knowing exactly what to study, because who wants to read a huge textbook like this? And that's why I created the PHAC Condensed Study Guide, which is everything that you need to learn to pass your private pilot check ride. It is the Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge condensed from 500 pages down to 156 pages, with graphics, easy explanations for those difficult topics, and quizzes at the end of the chapters if you really want to test your knowledge. That study guide is going to be the first link in the description. Now, the next one's going to be the biggest common struggle I see across all students, and this is going to be weather and mainly pressure systems. Rather than just trying to memorize the characteristics of the pressure systems, try to understand why they happen. For me, I tried to just memorize it. When I was in the private stage, I would just try to, memorize the different characteristics. But once I finally understood why these things happen, it all started to make sense. For example, a low pressure system, unstable lapse rate. You have an unstable lapse rate, which is the inability of the atmosphere to resist vertical development. Because of this vertical development, you get cumulus clouds. Because you get cumulus clouds, you get those huge raindrops and that's showery precipitation. All these things start stacking on top of each other. They're not just random characteristics. Each one of them is a cause and effect. Because you get this, you get this. Because you have this, you get this. You also need to be understanding front and the different characteristics that come with that. And a huge one that I see that people struggle with is fog and why they form. So those are a few topics that you can study this week. Also, let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. I'm going to be releasing those videos about the topics that I discussed in this video here in the next couple of weeks.